It's a very, very special 58th Independence edition of This Morning on Love Plus. My name is Shegun Adebo Wale. We had the speech delivered by the #1 citizen of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. Some said it was inspiring, some said not too inspiring. But I've been joined in the studio by two gentlemen, and we'll be dissecting the speech. It's a pleasure having Barrister Godwin Omoaka in the studio. Good morning, sir.
I think it's a pleasure being here.
Happy birthday to Nigeria. And of course, Valentine Utulu Esquire. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. You read the speech, you went through it, you heard it. President said it's a moment of celebration and also sober reflection. Taking a holistic look at the speech itself, what do you make of it? Inspiring? Not too inspiring?
Well, I wouldn't describe Mr. President's speech as inspiring. Rather, I would say he just spoke to the basic issues that have afflicted the nation in the past. He was short on a lot of details.
Okay.
He didn't go into specifics of how some of these problems will be addressed. He spoke about the insecurity situation in the Northeast, and commended the men and women who have lost their lives in the process. And of course, he spoke about the environmental degradation, the farmer and herders crisis. And for me, what was striking about that is the fact that he didn't seem to address that issue, which is on the front burner.
Some things that were missing in
this. Which is on the front burner today. Saying that it's as a result of transhumance, the environmental degradation caused by climate change. For me, it's neither here nor there. Lives have been lost. People have been killed daily, on a daily basis in their homes. How are you going to address this problem? Okay. What comfort do you give to them?
What do you think of the statement, sir?
For me, the speech generally was too short. It did not address specific issues. It's one thing to identify a problem, it's another to tell us what you are doing about it. And then beyond that, the people need to know what steps you are taking so that we can follow. If you do not tell us your policy thrust, we cannot follow you. We can only guess as to what you're doing. So the speech was short in detail, as my learned friend said. It was short in detail. And the devil is in the detail. You need to tell us exactly. It was about a 10-minute speech. You can't address Nigeria's problems in 10 minutes.
And we're used to all of these brief speeches.
No, it's too brief. People want to know what is happening.
Okay, let's go into specifics now. The president talked about the security situation in the Northeast and said there is a steady improvement. Vis-a-vis Leah Sharibu, that's still not been rescued, apart from the other girls, the other Chibok girls. And of course, we know the onslaught against Leah Sharibu's parents lately. Don't you think the president should really have singled out that lady and spoken about her? And exactly what the government is doing to bring the lady back to her parents, and especially when he said that they are making steady improvement.
I think that's one of the details, one of the things that got lost in that speech. The president didn't address that issue, and it's very sad. Because here is a girl who, on account of her religious faith, has been held captive for several months while others have been released. Now, Boko Haram came out and threatened her life. What are you doing? What are the security agencies doing to free her? Yes, you may not want to give us the specific because it's security operation. Okay. We understand that challenge. But at least you let the nation know what you are doing, in a broader context to address that problem.
Some reassurance.
Some reassurance. He didn't. And so for me, that is one of the sad things about his speech today. I think the issue in the Northeast is sad. I think that, yes, there has been an improvement, but I think that there's still a lot of work that has to be done to restore peace and orderliness in the Northeast.
1, 2, 3 local governments in Borno State still being occupied by Boko Haram. Yet we're saying that we're making steady improvement. Is that steady improvement?
Well, if by steady improvement he means that a lot less people are being killed, then perhaps we could take him for that. But if you do not have, if the territorial integrity of Nigeria is challenged by terrorists, you cannot rest easy. There's not much to celebrate regarding the curbing of Boko Haram terrorists. But because he's the one making the speech, he needs to paint a rosy picture about what is happening. But we would actually be demanding more.
But shouldn't a leader tell us exactly what is happening, other than going into El Dorado?
The truth of the matter, as I said, was that the speech is lacking in detail, and it was too short. All he did was address some headlines, and if I want to say what the speech ought to contain, he never addressed the educational system in Nigeria, which is being degraded by the day. He has not addressed the economy, the fact that about 15 million Nigerians are unemployed, that the unemployment rate has increased from 2015 till date. He has not addressed the issue that between the time he took power and now, our foreign debt has grown by about 11.7 billion. These are things he has not talked about. He's telling us that he's diversifying the economy. What steps are you taking to diversify the economy? What tax breaks are you giving to the industries that will diversify the economy? What government policy thrust is being done to diversify the economy? There's no detail in the speech. Nothing. And then he doesn't address critical sections of the nation. So, well, maybe that's the best he could have done, but I was expecting a speech that would take us about 30 minutes to address the gravamen of issues that we have in Nigeria.
At least to talk about some specifics.
Yes. And just to add to what Valentine has said, you see, we are going to an election here, and this is a man who is up for re-election. And by no means, I'm not suggesting that it should have been a sort of campaign speech. But that speech should have, I expect a lot more.
It could have been a campaign speech.
I expect a lot more.
Because you need to make use of every arsenal within your artillery.
Yeah, precisely. I expected much more from him. Because you want the electorate, you want voters to vote for you. And so you must convince them, you must tell them why they need to vote for you.
What have you done?
What have you done?
In the past 3 years?
Doing? So I thought it was an opportunity that was sadly missed.
Well, the farmers and the headers on farmer crisis, which the president has reduced, in fairness to him, it's reduced a bit. But my question is this crisis, is it more of a political crisis than anything? Because there was a time when there was an upsurge. Every day we heard, we read, we saw, the media landscape was all about headers and farmers crisis. Yeah. But it died down, so to say. Is it more political crisis than anything?
Well, conspirators will say it had a political undertone, all right? You can't rule that out completely from it. I have seen shows on television where security experts and people who are informed have said that, look, the president is a Fulani, and the headers, the headsmen are mostly Fulanis. And so why should they undermine their own brother, kith and kin? So for me, I think one, it's a combination of factors. Yes, there's the political angle to it. Secondly, there is the subsistence angle to it. These people need to earn a living through grazing their flocks. And yes, I do believe that the environment has played a part in the sense that you don't have grazing grounds again anymore. So, but for Christ's sake, you don't stray into people's compound. You don't go into people's ancestral home and butcher them simply because you want to earn a living by grazing your flock. So I think the combination of all of these factors, and not just the political angle. The Mieti Allah Association which is the umbrella body of the headsmen, has been very irresponsible in his utterances, in his public statements, in my view. And I think why people have focused on the president is that until now, he has really not come out to, he has not called them out and addressed this issue.
They've not been tamed.
Yes, specifically. He has not called them out. And it appears as if they have a free rein to do what they like, say what they like. You understand? I think it's sad.
Unlike some other...
Yes. And if there was an escalation, the moment the Jonathan regime left, there was an escalation. Yes. There was an escalation. The problem has always been there. It's historical. It's not something that is today. But there was an escalation. Even in Ghana, it's there. But the Ghanaian government has been able to deal with it.
Oh, the president came out.
Yes. How did they do it? It's not rocket science. How did they do it?
Yes, what I found missing is if the president says that the problem is as a result of climate change, so what we're having is climate change refugees coming from the north to the south, what is being done about it? I couldn't get that in the speech. Beyond that, how many of these murderers, mass murderers, have been brought to book? It's one thing to say that they will be brought to book, but we are not seeing it. And that statement sounds hollow to anybody listening to the speech. In addition to that, the flip side of the coin is that people have also said that the herdsmen are bold today because their man is in power. Now, that means that the president himself has to stand above board. He has to prove to us that the people are not emboldened by the fact that it's their kith and king that is in power. This is a very important issue, an existential issue confronting Nigeria today.
Precarious.
Yes, and we need to understand, it's all over the world and people know it, that nomadic animal husbandry can no longer be sustained. There has to be a different way of doing things. So
in this 21st century.
Yes. So the question I'm asking the president is, in your speech, what other different way have you offered?
Valentine, just to interject, I mean, they talked about grazing lands for the nomads, for the herders. But again, these have been rejected completely, especially by the southern states. While some of the governors in the northern states, like Kano, Governor Ganduje of Kano State, has said, "Oh, come to my state, I will give you land." See, this is private business.
Yes.
The argument has been made.
Yes.
How has this been done in other nations of the world? Again, we just replicate it.
Let me ask you, this speech is usually written by president's handlers, correct? Who do we really blame? Do we blame the president, even though the buck stops on his table?
Yes.
Or some of his handlers too?
The buck stops on his table. If your handler is not writing your speech well, write it yourself. Nothing stops you. And if you don't have a good handler, employ somebody else. So the buck stops at his table. It's as simple as that. And besides, you would have read the speech before you deliver it to the nation. If you see it's not good enough, then you change it.
The president says, and I quote, "Developing a thriving democracy is not an easy task. There can be no quick fixes or shortcuts." If you juxtapose this statement vis-a-vis what he said when he was in China, that yes, people say he's a go-slow president, but those who were on a fast lane for 16 years, what did they achieve? That they will rather go slowly rather, and achieve than...
Well, I don't even think that the issue is whether it's going slowly or fast. The issue is, are you taking the right decisions? Whether it's being taken quickly or not is not the issue, but are you taking the right decisions? If people see that you are taking the right decisions and the consequences of your decisions will be good for the nation, nobody will criticize.
Gentlemen, I've been told that we've done wonderfully well on this segment, yes, because some other person will probably take another segment. It's been a pleasure having you on this very, very on this very special day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you shortly. Yes, and the program continues in just a moment.